Hi, I'm Katie with Homeschool in the Heat, and today I'm going to talk to you about the Daily Work Binder. It's an easy and affordable way to help your kids be more independent with their homeschool work. So the heart of this system is a 3-ring binder. Depending on how much you're going to put in there and how much you need to store will determine the size, but just a regular standard, I think this is a 1.5 inch binder. I wouldn't go bigger than 2 inches, it'll just get too bulky. You're going to need a binder. You're going to need dividers. You need 5 dividers, the kinds that have pockets on the front and back. Those are important. You're also going to use a pouch to store materials in, at least I am. Now, this binder is a bit beat up. This was my son's. He used it all year last year, and it's seen better days. But he had a really good run with it, and he's got a new binder now. So this one, I put a cute picture that I personalized for him using Canva, and I'll link to that below. That way he knew it was his. My daughter has one as well, a little bit different. I found photos on Unsplash where you can find free stock photos. And so I'll show you both of their folders. You're also going to probably want to print out some extra handouts, and I'll go over these in a minute. And then you're going to need a way to store work at the end of the week for the rest of the year if you're in an area where you do have to keep work samples. You can do that using a file system, and I'll show that, or just using more 3-ring binders, which actually is probably the easiest way to do it. The first thing you see when you open up the binder is I put a pouch in here, and the idea was that this binder held everything he needed to do school for the day. He could be really independent with it. He liked that, I liked that, and it made the day go a lot smoother. So instead of having him say, where are the crayons? I need a green crayon for my math. I'm supposed to circle something with orange. I'm supposed to underline it with yellow. There's one of each color in here. Not a whole stack of crayons where he has to sort through and find the right one and get distracted, but just one of each basic color in here. A glue stick, pair of scissors, pencil, and then a dry erase marker, which he used for his chore checklist and such. My daughter's, on the other hand, she had flashcards in hers that she used for some of her work, also a dry erase marker. And then another type of pouch that you can put in here are these zippable vinyl pouches that you can get. They're fairly inexpensive. She has some fraction cards in here, but you can put all sorts of fun stuff in there if they need to. Again, the idea is that everything is in one place for their work for the day. I have in here some maps, just one of the basic continents, and then the world map and the United States map. That's from Gather Round. That was part of their curriculum. So whenever it was, look at the map, there was one right here. They didn't have to go hunt one down. Didn't have to go grab the globe. Sure, when we're doing group work, we will use the globe. But when they're doing their work, they have what they need right there. So at the beginning of the week, either over the weekend or if it's been one of those weeks, you're going to do it while they're eating breakfast or getting their chores done in the morning, you're going to go through, and each divider is for a day of the week. So these were labeled. Again, it's beat up because it lasted a whole year. If I were using it again this year, I would relabel it. You will put all of Monday's work in the front pocket of Monday's divider. Tuesday's work goes in the front pocket of Tuesday, etc., etc. Then, on Monday, they know to come in here, whatever is in this pocket, they need to do. And a lot of it, they can do independently. He could do a lot of his math by himself. He could get started on his phonics by himself. That way I could be doing things like getting the dishes done after breakfast, starting the laundry, dealing with the toddler. And then I also would put in here their group work. So we did a lot of Gather Round, and sometimes we didn't do a full lesson in one day. If he had extra handwriting and phonics, we might only do half the lesson and then do the other half the lesson the next day, and it would be in here. So I would decide that ahead of time, put what we need to do in here. He would know what he could do by himself. So he'd take this sheet out, okay, he would work on it, and when he finished that page, put it in the back of the same divider. So that's why you need the kind that has pockets on the front and the back. So whenever he finishes a page, it would go back here. When there was nothing left in the front, he knew he was done for the day. I could go back and look very quickly at the end of the day and make sure there's nothing left in the front, everything's in the back pocket. Then at the end of the week, everything should be in the back pockets, and you will come through, take it all out, file it however you like to file it. I'll give a couple options at the end, and then refill. So it takes about, I don't know, if I had everything all printed and ready to go and organized well ahead of time and I wasn't making it up on the fly, 5 minutes on Monday morning or Sunday evening to stock the folder. If I was making decisions like, do I want to do this gather round page? Do we want to do this? How many math pages am I going to give them today? It might take me a little longer, but the physical doing of it is a few minutes. And then you're set for the week. And they know what they have to do. Pages aren't getting lost. I also like that using the pockets means that they're not having to open and close these. No one's getting their fingers pinched, and the binder doesn't wear out as fast. So these tend to wear out after a while and they start getting loose and pages are coming out. So by using the pockets, we avoid all that. Now, what if you have work that isn't something that you can stick in a pocket, right? What if you have a workbook that you want them to use? They have a math workbook. They have, say, maybe they're using teaching textbooks and they do something on the computer. What about reading that they need to do? So what I did for that is I created these pages. Again, I did this just on Canva. I used some of their art. Most of it's free, or you can pay $1 for an image if you find one you really like, or I went on Unsplash or found free clip art, that kind of thing. And I made up these pages for things that didn't fit in a pocket. So they would have read something. They knew that that meant they had to do their independent reading. So if you look back in this, in his folder, every day he has a read something. So this was his first grade work. So he had a handwriting page, phonics, math, read something. That was the basics for him in first grade. My daughter had a bit more. She would have a read something page. She had a cursive workbook. So she had this to remind her to do one lesson in your handwriting book. She would practice her multiplication facts on the Free Brace website. I can link that below as well. It's great. It's really good for kids who tend to get upset under pressure or not like timed type math practice because there's no penalty for wrong answers. But if they get it right, it donates money to help feed the hungry. So they feel like they're doing something good, not just doing boring math. So she had that. Here's read something. She had a spelling box with different activities, and I can do a video on that at some point. So this reminded her to do that each day. She does typing online, so practice your typing. So instead of a checklist, which some kids is a little bit too nebulous, and I know that seems crazy to say that a checklist is nebulous, but for certain types of personalities, they need hands-on, the physically moving, the sensory information of taking this actual thing and moving it into a different spot, especially for younger kids, can really help them get a better grasp on what they need to do, how much is left, when are they done. Just marking off a checkbox is not quite the same thing, and I think that works better for older kids. But for the younger ones, this is great. It's a little bit like the workbox system that was really popular for a while, but it doesn't take up as much room. Workboxes are physically much bigger. This is all in one binder that they can grab, and if you want to go do school at a coffee shop or at the park, or they want to go work in their room because you're vacuuming in the other room and it's too loud, they can just grab it and go. And again, everything is there that they need to do their assignments. So if you had an older child who needed a ruler for some of their math assignments, you can get the kind that snaps in here. If they need a protractor, you put it in here. Whatever they need, highlighters, etc. You want to make sure they have everything right in there, ready to go. Some other things you can put in there. My daughter had in here a multiplication chart. She has one in her binder this year as well, just if she needs to go back and refer. And you have to set rules on how that works for you. I put in here a little reminder on Roman numerals because we were still working on those. I put in a list of sight words, and the way we use this was actually as a mini dictionary. So if she needed some help spelling a word, most of the time it's going to be one of the common words, one of the top 1,000 words, so she could look it up in here rather than having to heft out a giant dictionary. That if she wasn't in here, then she could ask me for help, or we also use an app for that now. And then she used Master Books Math, and they had a lot of pages that were, you had to copy as needed. I kept them in here, had some charts in here. And then she also used Master Books for Language Arts, and there were a lot of study sheets and kind of reference materials for that. So I put that there, made a little everything you need to know. So that's how that works. So then what do you do at the end of the week with the material, right? Now you've got all these worksheets. You have a couple options. One option is to file it. So I had these in a file box, and I had one file for each month. So that was September. And then I had for each kid a smaller folder in there labeled, color-coded. And at the end of the week, I just stuck each kid's work, took it all out, stuck it in here. That was it. And then I dealt with it at portfolio time at the end of the year. I sorted out what I wanted to keep, what I didn't, and put the stuff I wanted to keep into a binder for a portfolio. You could also, instead of having it divided up by kid, you could have it divided by subject. You could put a couple folders in here for each subject if you wanted to divide it up better. Or you could have, instead of by month, you could have by subject. You'd need bigger folders. They make the ones that have the flat bottom. That would work really well. Another way that was really easy, and actually I like a lot, is to just use another binder. So that's how I organize my kids' work using a 3-ring binder. It lets them be more independent. It helps to make everything portable and keep things from floating around the house. If you have questions about it or how to implement it in your house, or if you have any tips or suggestions for me, I'd love to hear them. Just comment below.